October 7th. Don't ask me why I can remember that date. Back then, I couldn't remember my wedding anniversary, but I can remember that date.
We're gonna start from like the Bible says, the Genesis. We're gonna start. Who was Leo as a kid? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Sacramento, California, but got to Texas as quick as I can. So, growing up, as a young man, played a lot of baseball. That was my thing. And, my parents got divorced, and Mama raised three boys.
Mm-hmm.
Loved my mama to death. My grandparents, my grandpa Jess was a big influence, and so was my uncle Carlos. They were the best father figure images I had growing up at that time.
Okay. So you spent most of the time, your childhood. You say you moved to Texas. When you moved to Texas, what year? Hey, hi, welcome to the podcast, and I really appreciate it you be here today. Well, my analytics shows that 85% of the viewers has not yet subscribed. Please, if you want to subscribe and you like what you're seeing, take 5 seconds, pause the video, hit the like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you leave a comment below. And what do you like or don't like about the video? Also, I really appreciate it, and I suggest for you to grab a snack, your favorite drink, and sit back and relax. Enjoy the show. How old you were when you moved to Texas?
Oh, Jesus, man. You put me on the spot on this one. I was in... Same my freshman year in high school. Yeah, I went to. I moved with my father. At that time, he was living in Rosenberg, Texas.
Okay, I know where it's at.
Yeah, and I went to Terry High School. That's where I went and graduated back in 84, 85.
Well, ways back.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that was ways back.
A bit.
Okay, so talk to me after. I know you've been in the military. How long you were in the military for?
Excuse me. All through high school, I was in the Navy ROTC.
Oh, you were to the ROTC? Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. And that was my big plan. After I exited high school, I wanted to become a Navy helicopter fighter pilot.
Okay.
Then
what? So that was your dream childhood to become a pilot?
yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. Mine too. I'm fascinated by airplanes and helicopters. But and do you try for the Navy or just went straight to the Army?
No, when I told my father when he was alive at that time, hey, this is, my dreams. And he was like, oh, you don't need to go to the military, blah, blah, blah. Just killed my dream. So I just put it to the wayside, and started working and, having kids, doing trying to do the American dream, have, material things, which back then, that I was young, I'm in my 20s and trying to raise children and make money. That was all. That was what was on my mind at that time.
So you basically you had a little gap between the high school and the Army. You did some trade work. What do you did before you joined the Army? What kind of job you did?
Back then, I was tow truck driver for the city of Houston. I chased wrecks and, things like that. All them records you see up on the.
Right.
Yeah,
So you spending most of the time in the highway and stuff like that?
Yeah, yes, sir. That was my occupation at that time, which it was a good occupation.
It was good. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what year you joined the Army?
Funny you say that. I went back in the Army very late.
How late?
I was 35, 34 years old.
Wow. Back then, if I remember back then, it was like borderline,
Yes, sir.
after 2001,
Yes, sir.
they kind of raised the age to like 40, 42, 45, whatever. But before that, it was like 35, 36. But that was like the cap. That was the limit.
Yeah, well, I made that cap. I spent my, 35th birthday
Wow. So you
in
were like
Fort
right.
Knox, Kentucky.
Fort Knox. Ooh-wee.
Yeah, in Fort Knox,
So
Kentucky.
you basically you were like, they call them daddies when they go to bed.
Yes, I was considered an old man.
Old man, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the DS at that time, they were hard on me, but they thought they were going to break me, but
Right.
they didn't. There was a few words with some of the DS I had. I'm a grown man. We can settle this. Take that brown round off, and we can go out back. I was that guy.
Kind of like a loose cannon.
I wouldn't say a loose cannon, but they weren't going to disrespect me.
Right.
When yeah, you're not going to disrespect me. I respect that rank in your position, but you're not going to disrespect me. Yeah. So
Having said that, how was basic training? Like, give me a little 30-second kind of like introduction. How was basic training back then for you?
for me, coming in at the age I was, people, they doubted me. They didn't even think I'd make it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have anything to prove to anybody else other than myself. I can do this. My heart, my mind was in it. The instructors I had, my main instructor, Michael Montez, he was a big inspiration on me. The other one was DS Pentoa. And these guys, they were hard on me, but they were fair, but they respect my age, if that makes sense. And that was when I learned I had more in me. I can go beyond my physical ability, no matter how hard it hurt. We did some ruck marches, heartbreak, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack, all right, but I got through it. And at my age, I had some better PT scores than these 18, 19, 20 years old. So, but it was challenging, but it was a great experience. If I would do it all over again, oh, absolutely, but at a much younger age. Yeah, definitely at a younger age.
So you did basic training and AIT all together, or you did it separately?
No, sir. It was a one-stop shop. AIT.
The OSAT. Okay.
Yeah. We did the BCT, and then went into the AIT.
Right there in there.
Yeah, and I went in. I started out wanting to be a Cab Scout, but they didn't have a slot for me at that time due to my birthday and making that cutoff.
Oh, okay.
So I said, okay, how about a 19 kilo? And they says, oh yeah. They showed me the video, this tank jumping. Oh, that's so cool. Well, in my mind, that 70 tons has got to land and stuff breaks. They didn't.
Oh, yeah.
They failed to give me that far. But my whole career I was 19 kilo, and I had a beautiful and wonderful career. And I went into the Army, BCT as a PFC because of the ROTC my education.
Yeah, they credited that
Yes,
to your
sir.
rank. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So for those that don't know, what is 19 kilo? Can you kind of like brief explanation? I know what 19 kilo is, but
a 19 kilo, how they got it is a Abrams crew member.
okay,
I was an Abrams tanker.
inside the tank.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Back then, do you have the Alpha 1s or Alpha 2s?
Back then, that was when they were trying to switch over, and I actually got trained on both. I mean, my training, half of it, and I'm okay. The toggle switches, and then they're integrating, the A1s with all this, the DID displays and all that, and I was like, okay.
Quick question for you. Now that we're talking about the technology that Alpha 2s has compared to the Alpha 1s, one question, I went to NTC a few times and I saw Abrams like flying by me, whatever, basically 50 miles an hour on the desert. My question is, I was wondering, because I never talked to a tanker before, a tanker crewman, do they have AC inside the tanks? Because I know they got CBRN
Yeah,
equipped, but do they have AC? It is hot. Like I heard people saying it is, or it's just like right here, right now.
on a good day, it's cooler in the tank than people think, but it does get hot in there. I mean, we just take, our NBC tubes and stick them in.
Can I get some air flowing?
Yes, sir.
But you still sweat, like
Yeah, it's a sweat box in there. Yeah.
it's yeah. So how many people can fit in the tank?
4.
4 people.
Yep.
You got
You have the driver, which he's down below in
Right.
the hall. He's all alone in there. And then have myself, the gunner, the loader, and the TC.
what position you were when you first started?
I started out as a driver, but I was in that position for a very brief. I drove one gunnery.
That's it.
Yeah, but
One certification and
yeah, we did the gunnery, and I was a driver. And back then, is it probably mad when I mention his name? Staff Sergeant Brian Crut. He was my platoon sergeant, tank commander at that time. That guy is very knowledgeable. He used to drill me to no end, but he respected me. That was the main thing, But he showed me a lot, and I went from being a driver to being a tank gunner, which was unheard of. Because the former loader, which he was a higher rank than me, should have had that position.
because you move up from the back basically to the top. So basically you like from driver, loader, gunner, and then
Tank commander.
tank commander. Yeah. Pretty much it was same when I was in.
Yes, sir.
You start as a driver, and then we work as fire direction control, like MLRS.
Yes, sir.
So we did the kind of same kind of process.
And
The
it's
lowest rank is a driver. You know what I mean? It's just a driver. And then you move up to the computers and
Correct.
leadership position, but they're pretty much the same as yours. So you move up from a driver. You spend, I would say, about a few months, 6 months,
Yeah, a few months.
few
there.
months, and then you move up to the gunner. So you basically you bypass the loader.
Yes.
The loader position, you bypass it. Okay, it's a big responsibility for PFC to be the gunner.
Yeah, but by then, I'd already moved up to,
Specialist.
yeah,
Yeah, makes sense. 6 months after,
Yeah, about that time.
right?
I
Probably
was-
more than that because you were, like, if we go backtrack, you enter as a PFC,
Yes.
basic training, AIT, it would take about 3 months, 3.5
Yeah,
months.
time
All
of service,
depends.
time and grade.
So by the time you'd be almost a year as a PFC. So you were right on time to move up to the next rank.
Yeah. He was the loader at that time. He was very upset, wouldn't talk to me.
I bet he was.
But because moving into the gunner's position, you're the assistant TC. So although I'm a lower rank, my position trumps him. So it was a great opportunity. I learned a lot. The loader, he finally got over it, talked to me correctly. He said, "Hey, I understand." He says, "You deserve that position." I says, "I don't know about deserve. I didn't ask for it. It was given to me freely."
How long do you spend from a gunner to basically possess your own tank and command over?
Yeah, here we go. And you're making me think on this one. Good job.
Just give me a rough number.
When I went in, I say we got deployed. We took tanks with us. I signed for the tank, everything, on my hand receipt, and we were always in gun trucks. So I never actually got my tank. I had it. I saw it. I'd go do the PMCS and sat out there in the desert. But because that was back in 2009, how they were trying to downgrade as far as weapon systems,
right.
Shooting the 240s and
Yeah.
and all that. And the areas we were in, they back then they were trying to draw down. We're still rebuilding. They didn't want us just, going in and destroying stuff unnecessarily.
Yeah, I remember. Back then it was, I would say 8, 9, all the way to like 14. It was kind of like you were saying, kind of like more like build schools, and people were building schools, roads, fixing what was broken, and trying to get the government to take over.
Yeah,
but that didn't happen.
First 2 deployments, we did a lot of training with the IA,
Right.
IP, showing them our ways. And some of the guys that I got to train, I met a lot of good soldiers, man. They were just like us. They listened and they did good, man. I built a lot of good friendships. I guess you could say.
Okay. Now that we're talking about going to Iraq and being deployed, when was your first deployment? If you remember, if you recall, because it's been more than 10 years. So.
Yeah. I pretty much left. It was in 2009, my first one.
2009. Okay.
Yeah, I pretty much come in into Charlie Company 1-5.
Based out of Fort Hood?
Yes, sir.
Based out of Fort Hood. Okay.
Fort Hood, Texas.
2009. Okay, 2009.
Now it's Fort Cavazos.
Fort Cavazos.
It's still it'll always be Fort Hood to me, man.
Yeah, it's like Fort Bragg. It's like Fort Liberty, whatever they call it. Yeah, it just they went crazy with the names. But so you were Fort Hood, deployed on 9. How much time do you spend overseas?
Oh, collectively?
Just a time period, because sometimes some units deploy 6 months to a year, whatever.
I want to say I was probably maybe gone a year.
About a year?
I think, give or take. Yeah,
right.
But prior, in this deployment time, that was the only time, I'd came home for a bit, and then it was like, man, I got to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I went back.
So you basically, none of we were discussing before, so you went deployed, came back, you were asked for volunteers, like the units had, asked for volunteers to go with different units to basically just like tag along and be like, hey, we need to fill those positions, whatever. So you did that. And once you got back, 09, 2010,
Yeah,
and then you went back out again
just,
for another year.
no, it was another year.
It was 6 months.
My last deployment in between these years, I mean, it's been a while. I'm just trying
Right.
to remember all the facts. My last deployment I went on, it was 2011, 12, that time frame when we were drawing down out of Iraq. That was my last deployment. But
That was
yes,
how many totals between '09 and 2012?
if I remember right, I think I got a total of actually in country. I know it was right under 20 months.
20 months, almost 2 years.
Yes,
In 3 years, period.
yes. I want to say maybe 18, 19.
Yeah,
You know, but I know
it's still a lot because you know how the cycle goes.
Yes.
You know, you go green and then you go back and you go red, amber, and then you go back to green again. You know how the cycle goes. But it is kind of short amount of time, a lot of time deployed, and it was crazy. I mean, to be deployed in like 36 months, you were deployed.
I mean,
18 months, it is a lot.
it was to my reasoning. I enjoyed it because it wasn't about myself. It was to my brother, to my left, to the right. Why? I mean, there were several times now. You know, I'd question, man, why am I fighting? Why am I here? But then I'll stop thinking, man, it's to my brother, to my left, and to the right. You know, and that's what kept me going. We were tight. Is the brotherhood, the camaraderie. You know, and it made sense because all I had to do is live and not die. I didn't worry about bills and things of this going on in this world. All I had to do is run my missions and not die.
Got a question for you, and I talked to you about it.
Okay.
So, like, for the people that don't know, never been to Iraq, never been to Afghanistan. When I went 03,
Yes, sir.
04, there were no such IEDs, except when I was about to leave, they start coming up with IEDs. IEDs, for those who don't know, is a improvised explosive device.
Correct.
Basically,
Roadside bomb.
roadside bombs, booby traps in corners, sidewalks, you name it. They put it, whatever you find on the road, it might be a bomb. Might be a trash bag, probably a bomb in there. When we left Iraq, MSR Tampa and LSA Anaconda, the airfield, that was the road that people get banged up all the time. Got shot at or got hit with the ID all the time. You went 09. It was hot back then. It was, they got the IDs and they got the other devices. I forgot.
Yeah, the EMPs. There was the shape
The
charge,
shape charge.
which was a little bit more. They tried to get them more accurate. You know, aiming up at the gunners and
Yeah, I remember about the shape charge, and I was hearing stories about it, and they were terrified. So you went 09. You probably went back 2010, 11 age.
yeah.
Do you got hit by an ID? If you did, how many times?
Yeah,
You know where we're going.
yeah, you know, take me back there. Yeah, this was the 11 to 12 time frame when we were withdrawing. Excuse me. I was still with 1-5. Our particular unit, we were out on Beige Oil. We actually lived in the Beige Oil refinery up in the Turkey province. And because our unit was a combined unit of 19 kilos, and we used to have the snipers come in. So we run several missions. I mean, our tempo back then, it was pretty high. But to answer your question, yes, I was hit several times.
Several times. Can you describe, and sorry if I take you there, can you describe your experience? How was, because for some people are alienated about getting hit by an IED. They don't know, because most of the people, there are not too many people that got hit, or many people that got blown up by an IED. I met a few, and the stories are kind of impressive and graphic. Can tell me your experience.
Short version, it was a bad day at the office. But that particular incident was October 7th. Don't ask me why I can remember that date. Back then, I couldn't remember my wedding anniversary, but I can remember that date.
What happened that day?
I was, at that time, I was the CO's gunner. He asked me to gun for him. I said, sure. So that particular mission, we were going out to a key leaders engagement, went up 0 dark 30, got to where we were going. We all sat around, eat a little bit of chow, take some naps, But that particular evening when we were leaving, headed back to Beige Oil Refinery, changed my life. We rode out the gate, and then we were coming back in at, under the cover of night. I'm sitting there looking through nods. And mind you, we're up in MRAPs, and I'm the gunner. I'm sitting there traversing, and at first my gun was orientated to the right. CO asked me, said, Sergeant Rich, go ahead and traverse and start scanning that. So I moved my gun over. I started going. And I was getting a lot of washout through the nods because of the traffic. So I lifted them up. I said, man, I can see better this way,
Right.
So I'm sitting there scanning, and I'm coming back right before I can get fully orientated back right. That's when we got hit by IED.
Just one or string of IEDs?
No, it was just one. It was the biggest IED I've ever got hit with.
What happened to the vehicle and the crew inside?
For me, the last thing I remember is hearing this giant boom and feeling a rush. It felt like 1,000 needles hitting me. And the crew said I just fell to the bottom of the truck. Thought I was dead. I could hear them, returning fire and all the chatter, because I had my comm still hooked to me, and I could hear it, but it was when I thought I was dead, where I'm literally seeing my body like a out of body experience. I could see my body just laying there lifeless. And that part about the white light, yeah.
So you were laying on the floor in the AMRAD, lifeless.
Yes,
So
sir.
you see yourself, it was kind of like out of body
Yeah,
experience.
like I'm sitting there, looking down,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's basically like you were seeing
I could see
yourself and everything.
yeah, I could see everything going on, and I thought to myself, call me crazy, would you? Dying wasn't so bad. I died doing my job, you know, in the battlefield.
When you were like, seeing your body, do you? I mean, take me through it. Do you kind of feel anything about like you feel like lightweight, or you feel like when you in the amusement park, you feel that weightless moment, like you don't feel nothing with your stomach.
No, and I mean, I could sitting there as clear as day. It's vivid. Like I could see my body just like I'm looking at you, and it was like, oh,
Wow.
hey, this is pretty cool. I died. It didn't hurt at all.
What happened after that?
When I was there and watching all this, other crew members, I remember in my mind that my little brother that was in the Marine Corps, he was still alive at that time. That he's standing over me. It's not your time. It's not your time. It's not your time. And the crew members, and this is verified through others, they just watch my body just come in. As far as I know, I should have died that day. But obviously, God had other plans for me. At that time, I didn't understand.
Do you sustain any injuries besides the concussion or the blast? Do you have any physical wounds?
Yeah, I mean, they pulled some metal out of my leg. Just ball bearing. I didn't. At that time, it burned like heck. But yeah, I got physical injuries. Like I sustained pretty bad back injury. I got nerve damage, shoulders messed up, and the typical blood in your eyes, and look like Frankenstein in the mirror.
Did they extract you by airlift, or they drive? They pull your vehicle out and just. How was the SOP for when the people got hit? When you got hit, sometimes they just like they have to do perimeter. Sometimes
Yeah,
they just keep on rolling and come back later for you. Well, how was the SOP?
the last thing I remember, and I mean, they transferred me into another MRAP. Took away, all my sidearms, any weapons on me, and we got back to the base oil refinery, and then by the time we rode in there, I went straight from a truck up to a medevac, and I was up in a bird. And in these time spans, I'm still blacking out. And when I woke up in the bird, it's kind of funny now that I think about it. I mean, when I woke up, I really didn't have no idea where I was. I knew I was in a helicopter, destination unknown. And there was a flight medic up there, and she was doing my vitals, asking me, you know where you're at, and you know what happened. And I briefly told her, so they took me on in, get my evaluation, and
Take you back a little bit. You mentioned something about the light when you had the outer body experience. Do you saw that light looking up, or you saw that light in your kind of your vision? When you're looking at your body, where you saw the light, and what do you felt when you saw it?
I saw that light. By the time the blast hit, I'm feeling 1,000 needles and everything, whatever is hitting me. And before I could see my body, it was bright.
It was bright.
Yeah. And then I was like looking around, and I was like, hey, that's me. But I know in my heart what I saw.
Did they take you to? Did you stay in country, or they take you to Germany for recovery? You know, I heard some people been taken to Germany for a couple weeks and then came back to Iraq.
Back then, we were on the cusp of, finishing, coming out, and, headed into Kuwait to exit the country. And they wanted to send me to Germany, but I refused. I walked onto this battlefield with my unit. I'm going home with my unit. Patch me up and get me back to my unit. So, they did the Humpty Dumpty routine and patched me up the best they could. It got me back with my unit.
Yeah, most likely, if you go to Germany, you probably go back to San Antonio after that.
Yes.
Most likely, you're not going back to the unit.
No.
Yeah. Some people that I heard, they got deviated. They go to Germany and they went to San Antonio, and they had to stay there for a month or two until they got back to their unit.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So, that was the route they wanted, but I refused it.
What did they say when they saw you, getting back to your unit? What was their reaction?
Nothing really. They just, hey, brother, you good? Mine was, no. Let's finish our job. But when I got back to my unit, I didn't run any more missions. Excuse me, the medical team, they got a hold of my command, said he is not to run any more missions, because if he takes on another IED, that one could kill him for good. So I kind of stayed in the rear with the gear, with First Sergeant, help pack everything up, just what we needed to get done. And I went with First Sergeant and Staff Sergeant Merrill, or Supply Sergeant, got everything set up in Kuwait. So when, our team came in, driving in, which I was a little upset with it, because I figure, hey, us leaving Beijing Oil Refinery, we're the last unit, we'll probably come into contact. And my mindset, okay. But they pulled me off my gun truck.
You got back 2011, 2012, roughly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got home, I think, I want to say it was around Christmas time, 11, because I know
Yeah, it was.
yes.
So, so you came back to a unit, and you were married at the time.
Yes, sir. I was.
You were married at the
Yes.
time. Did your wife? You talked about. I imagine your wife probably got notification back then of what happened to you because they get notified like fairly quick.
Yes, sir.
Fairly quick.
She did when she got notified. I mean, like I said, this incident happened October 7th and difference in time and all that. She got notified on her birthday. The only thing they told her,
Wow.
Miss Richardson, your, your son, your husband has sustained some injuries from an IED, and that was pretty much it.
No more details.
No, sir.
Know where you were. Nothing. Just he got hit, and back then sometimes I find out more through the F4G, through from
Well, he must know where that one was going.
right. They
Yes.
probably knew more than we were. Sometimes we're like, where do you heard that rumor? But yeah,
Yes.
you got back home around Christmas. How was your family welcoming you when you came back, knowing that you almost died? Did they were the same when you left, or
To me, they were the same, but I was not the same.
you were not? Okay.
Granted, yeah. Hey, Dad's home. My wife, my husband's home. Crying. And yeah, I was different, but I wasn't the same. That particular night changed my life forever. A part of me died over there, and I know it. When I got home, my wife would ask me, "What happened over there? What happened?" I would never tell her. Still to this day, she does not know. And we've been divorced several years, many years. I didn't want her to have that burden.
Now that you guys are divorced for so many years,
Yes, sir.
she probably find out what happened through this podcast. She probably get a clue or something that what happened. But how was your recovery after you got back? Because I know you were not the same. The whoever that got hit in Iraq and survived, they're not the same. Either physically or mentally, or both. They're not the same. How was your road to recovery once you got back? How was it?
It was a tough road to others. But back then, doing the recovery, and the rehab and everything, and going to all these psychiatrists, psychologists, and, doing all this, I lied. When I say I lied, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm great. I'm great, because, hey, I'm a non-commissioned officer, United States Army. I didn't want nothing to hinder my career progression. And little did I know back then, I was physically, emotionally, and spiritually dead. Like I was flatlined. But I put this facade on. I got this uniform. Oh, Sergeant Richardson, But that was just a facade and just a mask the actual real pain and suffering I kept inside for many, many, many years.
How that affect you on the personal level? Because everybody around you, psychiatrist, your your chain of command, your peers, I bet in their in their hearts they want the best for you.
Yes, sir.
And for the other that got hit in the same vehicle, do the other soldiers that were with you that night or that day that you guys got hit feel the same way you did, or do you guys talk among each other about that night or that day that happened? Try to help each other out, like kind of like put the pieces together. Because sometimes when you go through a trauma or of that magnitude, like you kind of like lean on each other to get better in some other one way or another.
Yeah, and well, back then, when we'd joke around, inappropriate jokes, but that's how we masked our pain. And you know this. I mean, joked around, hey, old man, I thought you was dead. I thought your head come popping off. Yeah, so did I, son. But those guys that were in the vehicle with me, I mean, I know some have gotten out, since then, retirement or what have you maybe. And then I know a couple of them, my commander at that time was Captain Hope. I know he's still active and been promoted and doing bigger and greater things, but it will always be on his mind. Staff Sergeant Springer back then, that was sitting right next, sitting in the truck. I know he'll never forget it. The driver, Kyle Hayes, he wound up, and I forgot who else. I think Sergeant First Class Morris was in the truck. He was the over the mechanics, and he was just, if you wanted to go out, jump in the truck, let's roll, I mean, but it forever changed my life.
What do you do after you divorce? How do you cope with those two things? Coping with divorce and the trauma they already try to mask, because it kind of like compound to each other.
Oh yeah.
And it's like a ticking time bomb. Everything just, as much as you try to put lipstick on the pig and try to hide away the monsters, sometimes the closet doesn't get any bigger, but the monster does. Because you fit in that monster, those skeletons in the closet, you fit in them, and they get they get bigger, and you keep I was NCO just like you, and we just keep throwing stuff out there, hide it from the soldiers so they don't see any weakness. How long it lasts for you until you basically break down?
Well, let's back up a little bit. I was already stationed in Fort Benning, Georgia, with the Armor School to help. It was back then they found out my injuries were more extensive than I led them to believe. Yeah. So I tried to find a medical retirement because the Army, what am I going to do? I'm going to feed my family. I love my job. Be known, do your job. And then they sent me for more extensive follow-up appointments, and it snowballed to, hey, weren't a medically retiree. It broke my heart due to all the injuries, more than they found. And then I tried to hide, but I couldn't hide them no more. Just the pain was unbearable.
What injuries did they find?
Found, my knee. It was had a torn meniscus vertically. The tendon was stretched. It would have been better if I just broke my leg itself. Both shoulders had been separated, tendons tore up, nerve damage. I mean, hits just kept on coming. And I even tried to tell them, well, I'll just, transfer MOS. I'm becoming a cook. Everybody loves to cook, because everybody got to eat, especially the soldiers. And we got down to my PCP, the major. I don't remember his name, but he said, Sergeant Rich, he says, you can change, but to the eyes of the Army, you are combat ineffective. You can do your job. So, but moving fast forward, it was hard. What am I going to do? So, turned to the bottle a little bit, tried to hide that. Got command referred to ASAP a couple times because of my drinking.
How heavily you were drinking?
Every day.
How much?
Probably back then, half pint a day, pint. Once I got off work. Pint of gin, half pint.
That's a lot. Daily?
Yes, sir.
That's a lot.
Just trying to hide the pain. And it caught up to me. But, once I got my orders, come down on orders, and I cleared, and I got over Benning, I got home and was on terminal leave, I had about 58 days terminal leave, So, yeah, I'm out of the Army, medically retired. First 30 days was good, because I was home trying to decompress. And, people say, oh, you're a civilian now. No, once a man sees war, the world looks completely different. I was a civilian once, but that mindset trying to integrate, no. But I started drinking more.
How long it lasted from you start drinking to you decide it's time to change?
It's funny you say change. At that time, I did not want to change.
Why not?
Because I didn't care if I lived, I died. I drank to forget and to cope. My alcoholism cost me my marriage. She was afraid. Even when I had, brief periods, I'd stay sober maybe 2-3 days max, if that. But, but hindsight's 2020. I didn't see that. I mean, I was mentally, physically, spiritually dead, and the bottle was the only my answer. To relieve this pain.
Numb it a little bit.
I numbed it whole. By then I was drinking a fifth of gin a day. And when I was sober, my wife was afraid, to talk to me, and she finally had enough because like she told me, she was tired of walking on eggshells, even when I wasn't drinking, you know. So I was a walking time bomb. I was, because I didn't know how to stay sober. I knew how to drink very good. I was good at that. I was great at being a soldier, you know. And so we got divorced. And my thinking back then was great. You were Army issued anyway, you know. I can drink even more and not have to hear it, which I did. And then, once again, 2016, I was 1 point over. I wound up in Harris County jail. That's where I spent Christmas Eve and Christmas, 2016.
What happened after that? Did they charge you with anything, or
Yes, I wound up seeing the judge, and
Okay.
you know,
paying the dues? And
yeah, I pled guilty, you know, DUI, and I mean, wasn't going to fight it, and then got back home. You know, I stuck me on probation a year. I had to go to drug and alcohol counseling. They wanted all these classes. They wanted to send me out, but I said, hey, I get all this free through the VA, So court ordered. I did everything, the drug and alcohol counseling, another anger management. This was and I saw the pattern. This is like the third time for alcohol, second time for anger. So I dealt with the PTSD through the VA and all the anger and all that misery loves company, and dealt with my alcoholism, learning about that through the program of AA. Some folks says, well, that doesn't work for me. Well, it did for me because I went in there. Mind you, I'm spiritually dead. I cuss God for many things. It's like, okay, here we go. I went with an open heart. I didn't keep a reserve of, hey, I'm going to learn how to stop drinking, check the block type and then go back at it. No, that I was done. It already cost me my marriage. It already in jail. I was on that cusp of losing my home. Everything that I loved dear, very dear to me, there was like, it disappeared. And, getting sober, I didn't do it for my ex-wife. I didn't do it for anybody. I did it for myself.
I respect that. Sometimes we get to that point, and those you realize, hey, it is time to call it quits on that portion of drinking or the anger management, because I went through my phase too, and I know what you feel about the drinking, because I went through it. Because when my wife listened to your story, when we talked about 2 weeks ago,
Yes, sir.
and she looked at me in the car, and she said, "You and Leo had too much in common. You guys went through similar backgrounds that leads to the drinking." For those that don't know my story, little people know my story. I was an alcoholic too. Only 3 people knows. My wife, my brother, and now you. I was drinking Jack Daniels, 1 liter a day. I did it for 3 months. And I had to call it quits because it was taking a toll on me, just like it did on you. And I had to say to myself, I'm losing myself in the bottle. I'm losing myself in heavily drinking. So I know you feeling. I know what you felt.
Yeah, back
Because
then.
I've been on that road too.
Yeah, because I didn't care. I was living in a hell. I was going to drink myself to death. But at least you realized you had a problem. And me going to jail,
That was
that was
the wake up call.
Yes, that was a blessing in disguise. Now that I look at it, that was a blessing, and I
Right.
didn't know it.
It couldn't be worse.
Oh yeah, I could have killed somebody else, myself. Yeah.
Couldn't be worse. And I'm glad you did. And I would like to know and let our audience know, how do you recover? Because I know the VA kind of leads you to it, but what was that pivot point where you actually found the answer that you were looking for?
Well, like I said, when I went to jail, I was on probation. So, I went to jail 2016, started probation, right after the first of the year. And it was mandated by my probation officer at that time, mandatory AA, mandatory atop of the drug and alcohol class, and, and the anger. And I was like, okay, it's just, once a week.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. But my mindset, I'll show them. I'll do an overachiever. I started going every day and having this. They give you a document to sign, and well, when it was time to go in there, I'll show them. But little does I didn't realize. Hey, you big dummy! It tells you, when you're going to go to 30 meetings every day. I was like, okay, I got this, And then as I'm going through, the recovery program, and I mean, I had to submit and, say, hey, okay, God, I'm sorry. I'm giving it all to you. And that's when I got my dog. So she was a part of this recovery process. And that dog has seen me cry, anger, but she's never left me, ever, ever, ever. So people say, oh, it's just a dog. Well, to you, it may be just a dog. To me, she's a blessing, because dog spelled backwards is God with a little g. And after I was a year sober, I started leading. Got off probation, did my time, got off. By then I got back into school, getting another associate's degree. And I had purpose. Not only was I sober, and it got kind of personal. Like, I'll show the world. Leo Richardson, Sergeant Richardson, is not going to be known as an alcoholic the rest of his life. This monster, and I learned, my alcoholism doesn't have to control me. The PTSD, people don't have to be afraid of me because it's my responsibility. I own that now. I own it. I don't let it control me, you know? And I couldn't do it by myself, man. You know, all this glory I give to God today. It's, people say, "Oh, you're a Jesus freak." Nah. He did for me what I couldn't do for myself. I can't walk on water. You know, I started out like Peter, you know, when Jesus reached out when they're out there on the lake, you know, come to me. You know? And that's what I did with my life. And I was like Peter. You know, I was walking that way, and then I fell. You know, he was there this whole time and reached me out. You know, you have little faith, and all glory goes to God.
Now that you find purpose in your life, and you kind of pivot, and you find green pastures now, how long you been sober for?
This July will be, what, 8 years? 7 years? 7, 8 years?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And we're gonna pivot a little bit towards your the organization that you with, Veterans Creed. What is your role, but I want to know how you got involved in that community, in that organization, and then tell me your roles.
Yeah. I got started back with Veterans Creed back, I want to say it's 21 time frame, give or take. You know, I found them on Facebook. Hey, you know, they do hunting and all that. Hey, man, you know, I love firearms. You know, I love hunting. And I said, that'd be good for me, you know. And they were looking for staff. So, you know, put in my application. You know, I told them, hey, man, I got to DWI. Yeah, you know, it's like, you know, I was truthful. You know, I said, okay. They still brought me on. And it was that was when I had more of a purpose in life, you know. Still going to school, you know, trying to get another degree, you know, trying to save money because my graduation gift was told myself, I'm going to build me a new house. Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that. So, you know, I came on the organization, you know, just pro staffer, and, you know, they saw things. I mean, it was like, hey, you know, I started making things happen, you know. And then, but yeah, this past year, you know, they've had a change of command, and they needed somebody as a new state lead. I didn't ask for the position, but I went from being just a pro staff. Now I am currently hold the position as state lead at Team Texas, and I run the whole state of Texas.
And what activities you guys do, or the organization do for veterans and families?
What we're a nonprofit organization, you know, 501c3, and all the staff here is all volunteer. None of us are paid. None of us take a dime. It's all volunteer. And what we do as veterans ourselves, we give back, and we facilitate veterans, active duty, police, fire, EMS,
First responders.
for, you know, anything first responder, Gold Star kids, you know, nurses. And what we do, we find and put together events of like a family fishing day or anything, get them all together. Hey, and we post it on our private page. It's Veterans Creed Outdoors Team Texas Trips page on Facebook, if anybody. And by there, that's where we kind of our only way to vet somebody. I mean, so that's where we post all our events, to give back. And well, people there will post a trip, that you put in for it. It's like the lottery, just like we just, one of my state co-leads, Marty Jackson, he just finished up a ram hunt with Kunstler Rams and Exotics up there in Tilden. That hunt was donated to us by Trey Kunstler, So we put it out, and one lucky winner went to go up there and shoot him a ram. No cost to him other than he just had to get there.
That's it.
That's it. And we do stuff like that. I don't want to reveal what we got coming up.
Right. No, it's fine. It's fine.
But we
good gotta, things are coming.
Oh yes, and and I can't. Granted, I am the state lead. Got it. It's just a title. But I'm not Team Texas. My staffers are from, all my staff. I mean, I love them to death. We built a good, strong working relationships. And that's, and it's the camaraderie, I mean, I can't thank all my team enough, but, they are the heart and soul, because I can't do it by myself.
How many people you got working on the state league, like under you?
Oh, just roughly right now that are active, maybe 10 to 15 people right now.
That's a lot of people.
Well, you got to figure some are active duty,
Right. They donated their time and.
Right. And I mean, the select few that are able to do stuff, we're a strong group, People don't realize, hey, these guys, they got guys and ladies. Let me add that in, guys and ladies. They do have jobs. They have families. They got kids.
Yeah, they got regular life like everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I have a great team, and and we got a lot of good things coming up.
That's great. Because it's hard to get sponsorship.
Yeah. So as far as corporate, no, we don't have somebody, as a big corporate sponsor that help. I mean, we're all self-supporting. We run a raffle each year. It's our yearly raffle. I mean, which is been going since February, March. I mean, if anybody wants to log in, find Veterans Creed Team Texas on the public page, it's right there. We'll run that particular raffle till I think it's December 22nd. But we'll do a Facebook Live and I'll announce all the winners to it. I mean, giving away once again another axis hunt, ram hunt, taxidermy service,
everything.
Yeah, and
wow.
Yeah, and that's been our big, I guess, fundraising, and we're in some works right now. I just finished signing all the documentation. We're going to be launching a campaign here, but people need to stay tuned, and
right.
And it'll change the way we operate.
Amazing.
And with that said, I mean, this is to give us opportunity to do bigger and better things for more veterans, and getting out there and helping veterans, first responder, whoever it may be. That's where the real healing happens, and the staff that I have, I mean, people say, oh yeah, you run this, all good job, well, it's not only helping the veterans or whoever it may be, but it helps tremendously to each and one of my staff members.
It does. I will leave the link on the description of the video. and the comments. So if you are interested to look their page and follow them, I will link it so people can follow you. And
Yeah, they can, right now, people can go to vcousa.org. That's our web page, and it'll tell you everything about us there. And then if you click on, you can do it by state. You click over on the state, you see Texas. Yeah, I'll be the first one to pop up.
that's good.
I encourage anybody if if they just want to make donation or whatever. And I mean, I'm not out there begging people. I just want the work of my staff. These guys, they work hard. A lot of people don't see what it takes, the logistics. And I mean, I'm proud of all of them.
Right.
I really am, man.
Yeah, it is. It is a hard work, especially nowadays. Everything's so expensive. It just, you know, gas, transportation.
Yes.
Even finding properties that they let you do. If they sponsor or sponsorship a hunt it's not cheap. I mean, rams are, I would say, between $1,000 to $3,000.
Oh, yeah.
Hunt or deer access or you name it. Every medium game to large game are
Oh, yeah.
are pretty expensive.
Yeah, and once again, like I get it. Thank Trey Kunstler with Kunstler Rams and Exotics. I mean,
Oh yeah, even taxidermists is just
yeah, and then
expensive.
our taxidermy. Dustin Brister. Fly high taxidermy. And then we get our hats and all that. I mean, I gotta thank Nighttime's Creations. Yeah, Anthony Morris and Anthony Paraka up there, and I mean those guys. They're police officers themselves, and they have their own business. And those guys have helped us out tremendously as they cut their prices tremendously for us. And but I got to thank those two. Like I said, go on our page, check us out. Go on our website. But that's what I do for Veterans Creed Outdoors.
That's great, man. Hey, for closing, I would like to close with my appreciation to you. Thank you for your service, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I'm glad that we got to meet, and I'm kind of happy that I found you, and I found another veterans here near Magnolia and Tumble, and it's good to see brothers, even though we never met before, but being the same line of duty, it's kind of like a brotherhood.
Oh yeah, and most definitely, and that's why us as veterans, first responder, and all that, nobody's coming to save us. I mean, if I could help just one fellow veteran or another human being, whatever they're going through, if I could help them, I know I'm doing the right thing, and that's the work God wants me to do. And one more thing before we go is just, but what's been the most fulfilling besides being with Veterans Creed is me being one of the leads at Real Life Ministries, Texas, the veterans, which that's where we met at.
Mm-hmm.
And the leader previous, Rick Goldsby, he passed away. He was very dear to me. Big inspiration to where I am today and being able to be a part of that ministry. And then, I mean, we got good things coming there too. It's just one day at a time, and hopefully I can.
Oh yeah, definitely. We got to get back to the Real Life Ministries on another occasion.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave that to the audience. Let that marinate a little bit, and then
Yes.
we're gonna do a part 2 sooner or later, and there will be a second part. We're gonna talk about real in depth of the Real Life Ministry, what it's all about, and there will be another great conversation to be had. But Leo, thank you so much, my brother. and we're gonna see each other soon.
Oh, absolutely.
We're
man.
gonna see each other
that,
soon.
Thank you, for having me on, and like I said, whatever I can do to help a fellow veteran or any human being, that's my mission right now.
That's good, man. I'm glad that you find your purpose. I'm glad that you, what you do, what the work that you put on into the Veterans Creed and real life ministries. It's not easy. I know it's not, but it is for you. It's very fulfilling, and that is something to be proud about.
Thank you.
Already. All right, brother. Thank you, and hopefully we're gonna do a part 2. And
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, I cannot wait to have another part and have you here again and have more conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully you tell me what's coming up on Veterans Creek, because I wanted to know, but off cameras I will not ask him anything. I will find out when you find out. So, brother, I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, brother.
All right.